All right, this is take two because I rambled on for 16 minutes and I can't upload a video that long to YouTube. All right, so this week, my idea, I wanted to do the hearing sensing and get started on factions. But you planted a seed when you showed me the enumerator for in your little video feedback, and it's super cool. And the thing with the child class, super cool. But first, wanted to get the hearing sense working. So you're in the AI controller. I added the hearing right here, and cleaned up some of the functions, like the setup perception system. Let me find right there. So the setup perception now does the site config and the hearing config, creates objects for those, and then if it's a site config, sets the values. If it's hearing config, sets the values, and so that works, right? On updated, now it's an array of actors that when they sense something, it adds them to the list, right? So and then it validates, it just loops through that array, gets the info of what sense it was, and then if it was hearing, it does this and sets the is investigating variable to true, and then sets a vector for where the sound came from. And then if it detects site, it sets can see player to true for those different functions. And those are, I got too much stuff up here. So when it hears something, it hears the sound, it runs to where it heard the sound, looks, and then does something once it gets there, right? So that's here. So it hears a sound, it runs to the location, it waits a second while it looks, and then if it still doesn't see the player, the stop investigating goes to false, and then it goes right back up here and does this until it hears another sound. Then if it does see the player, it breaks all the way over here and starts chasing the player. Change speed is a service to change the speed. When it hears a sound, it runs. Here it's walking at 150 is the value. It runs at, I think I said at the 350, and then it chases at 500 until it lets go, and then it goes right back to walking, right? So back to the code. You have a new IDE, learning how to use this. It's called Writer. Much easier to use in Visual Studio, and I went to dark theme. Yes, you're welcome. It like autofills and everything. It's really well integrated into Unreal. And I also had to abandon my little pawns, even though I like them, because I couldn't figure out a way to alter their speed. Floating pawn movement, I don't think you can access the value and set the value in C++. At least I didn't see it in the documentation. So I made an NPC character, and it's just very simple character so far. All it does is it has a get behavior tree, so it can pull the behavior tree that it's using, right? And then on CPP it just returns the behavior tree. So it doesn't really do anything else. Like all it does so far is I can access its movement components, and it pull its behavior tree so I can change the keys, the values on the keys. Also, we're not using the Blackboard keys.h anymore. We're using some built-in functions with the behavior tree system. Let me see if I can find an example. Let's see here. So yeah, this used to be a custom function where we got the controller and then used get Blackboard component from the controller and then set the vector and dictated what key it was. Now we're using an inbuilt function, so it gets the Blackboard component for the owner, and whatever key is assigned to that to the Blackboard at the time, it sets that value to that key. So you don't have to mess with the key names anymore. It just automatically does it for me, which is much easier to write this stuff and expand on it. This one is the one that chases the player. It just gets the location of the player and keeps looping through that until it loses sight. And then when can see player is false. Right. Let's see. Change speed. This is the one that I really wanted to have. I wanted them to patrol slowly, and then speed up when they chased you or came to investigate. They come running at you. So become relevant is when the behavior tree component is activated, I believe. And then here is once it becomes relevant, it gets the owner. And if the owner is the NPC, it sets their walk speed to whatever I want it to be, the speed variable, which I can alter on the blackboard using the keys, right, on the behavior tree. And then this is a mouse over thing, so that if I let me see, yeah, it changes the text here, change the NPC's movement speed, so you can change that. Interesting, not very. I mean, it's useful, but not important. Let me see, what else did I write this week? This .h is going to be used to hold the tags. We'll have a site tag, noise tag, and then I'll have the different faction tags in here. And stop investigating is when it hears the sound, runs there, it doesn't see anything, so then it stops investigating and goes back to patrolling. So we sets the boolean to false for is investigating, becomes false again. Yeah, and there's more. Then there's air. We added error handling to a lot of the stuff in here, like a lot of if statements. Make sure if as long as this is valid, it'll do this. If this is valid, it'll do this. If this is valid, we added all this stuff so that it wouldn't break and crash. All of the functions have this now. All of the everything I've written so far that had a chance of failing, like if it didn't find an NPC or a pawn or the AI owner or anything like that, and then so now it'll return a failed if it fails, obviously. So let's just see what it looks like. So again, here's the tree. Is investigating is set to true. So he hears the sound, he runs to it. As long as he can't see if he gets there and sees the player, boom, starts chasing him. Can't see the player, it stops investigating, goes back here. Once it hears a sound and it's investigating, it's set to true, it runs over there, blah, blah, blah. It does all that same stuff. It walks here at 150, 350 when it runs to check stuff out, 500 when it's chasing you. And it'll chase you until it loses sight, and then go back to this until it hears a sound. I added an action to the player so that they can, you just press a button and it plays a sound at a location and reports an event and the location of the event, so that the NPC has someplace to go, right? So this is, I played around with the child thing you have. So I made the NPC, made a blueprint of the NPC, I made a child class of the NPC, but there is a limitation. Like, this would be really cool if I could change the behavior tree that's assigned to it and change the mesh. So you see I've made the male mesh on here, and if I clear this, there's no behavior tree. This thing should just be a guy standing there doing nothing, right, when he spawns, which is all now automatic. They're not placed in the world, it's in the game mode. It spawns the actors at a specified location, and I have some debugging stuff in here to make sure it spawns for testing. And but if you watch, there's the first one. She's a female, just like the other one, or what I assigned her as. And there's the other. Still, it's moving, and it's not a guy. So it won't work. I have to figure out some other way to do it. So right now, they're just randomly choosing a place to move to. They're walking kind of slow. Now, if I press the button, here they come. Here she must have been out of range. So she's coming. She didn't see me, so she goes back to patrolling. Let me come over here, see if I can get them both. Here she comes. Here she comes. Oops, she saw me. She saw me. So they will chase me until they block each other's sight. See, that one's going back. And I lost that one. So, but then they run back and start patrolling again. I can't seem to fix that. Show you what I mean. So, like, if I just walk into her path, and she'll chase me, right? If I lose sight of her, or she loses sight of me, she starts walking, goes right back to the walk speed, right? However, if they use the hearing component to find me, and then I lose them. Let's see if I can lose her. She will run back to the spot where she started instead of walking back. And I haven't been able to fix that. I've been messing around with all these different variables and moving stuff around in the behavior tree trying to fix that, and I have not figured it out yet. I'm sure I can figure it out. It's not that big of a deal, but yeah. Oh wow, she took the long way around. But it works. Like, they hear the sound, they react to the sound, go where he heard the sound. So now I can add it. I can use it to add footsteps to the character, and if I'm on this side of the wall making noise, they'll investigate it. Right. So that's where we are right now. And like I said, I got the hearing working first with the pawns, but then I wanted to expand it to change the speed and everything else, so I had to make the NPC. Kind of frustrated, not frustrated, but I'm disappointed this didn't work. I still have to make multiple NPCs for this because it won't change, right? I can't use different behavior trees for different types of enemies, so I'm just going to have to make an AI for an NPC character for each type of enemy. I'm upset these guys didn't work. I might be able to make them work if I change these to skeletal meshes and assign them to these so that I can have my little kooky characters, but we'll see. And then the majority of the time was spent fixing the case on all of this stuff. Like I was stupid, and I didn't follow proper programming norms, right? When I was creating all of my variables and function names and stuff, and I went back and fixed it all, so it looks all pretty. And this editor stops telling me that I named everything wrong. So that's where we're at. I am in a pretty good spot to start expanding on everything, and I'm going to do that next week. So I'll talk to you later.